Defense Headquarters blames secondary explosion for deaths of about 10 persons following strikes in Sokoto. National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu denies terrorism allegations by Niger military leader. Osun State Governor Adeleke approves appointment of Prince Ijesha as new Owa Obokun of Ijesha land. On the foreign scene, South Korea's parliament impeaches acting President Han Duck-soo less than 2 weeks after suspending President Yoon Suk-yeol's powers. Good evening. This is News at 7 on Western Spring Television. My name is Damilola Raphael. The Defense Headquarters has blamed what it's described as a secondary explosion for the deaths of about 10 persons following strikes in Sokoto. A few days back, the Sokoto government said 10 villagers were killed and others injured after military strikes in the Silame local government area of the state. But the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, says the deaths and injuries were due to explosions and not a direct result of the strikes. According to Buba, the military confirms that the strikes hit the target, the terrorist group. However, Buba did not confirm the number of casualties in the strikes, which has continued to generate comments from Nigerians. The National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu has denied terrorism allegations by Niger's military leader, General Abdurrahman Chiani, against Nigeria. In an interview with BBC Hausa, Ribadu describes the claims as baseless. General Chiani had claimed Nigeria was setting up a military camp in the north in an area between Munguno and Baga in Borno State to destabilize Niger. According to him, Nigerian officials were conspiring to destabilize Niger through training camps for fighters in Sokoto, Zamfara, and Kebbi states. Chiani further alleged Nigeria had provided a base for French soldiers near Lake Chad. However, Ribadu rejected the allegations, challenging journalists and the public to verify the claims. Still talking security, troops of 6 brigades, Nigerian Army, Sector 3, Operation White Stroke, have arrested a suspected Boko Haram terrorist in the Garba Chede community of Bali local government area of Taraba State. The suspect, identified as Nura Yakubu, was arrested while acting on credible intelligence. Investigations revealed that Yakubu, a food vendor, was involved in harboring Boko Haram terrorists deployed to Taraba State for terrorist activities. A press statement by Captain Olubodu Deoni, who is the acting Assistant Director of 6th Brigade Army Public Relations, says further findings linked him and his gang to the kidnapping of a businessman, Arinze, and the son of Alhaji Ibrahim some time ago in the Gabatao community of Bali local government area. Meanwhile, following the unfortunate kidnapping of a district head within the Jalingo local government area on November 27, 2024, and his subsequent release after payment of ransom, troops intensified intelligence-driven operations to track and apprehend the perpetrators. In the wake of the development, the 6th Brigade's Nigerian Army says it remains steadfast in its mission to ensure the safety and security of lives and properties across Taraba State and beyond. Human rights lawyer Femi Falana has declared that the Nigerian police should be held responsible for the stampedes that led to the loss of lives in some states in the parts of the country. About 70 people lost their lives in the stampedes that occurred in Oyo, Anambra State, and the Federal Capital Territory recently. Speaking on Friday at a public lecture to mark the 1-year demise of former Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, Falana accused the Nigeria police of sheer incompetence. He noted that the stampedes that occurred during the distribution of food items and other palliatives in the country were a national tragedy. Falana emphasized that the Nigeria police is saddled with the right under the Constitution to protect the citizens of the country at all public gatherings. Away from security, Osun State Governor Adeleke has approved with immediate effect the appointment of both Prince Ijesha as the new Owa Obokun Ademola of Ijesha land and Prince Johnson Adekanmi Abikoye as the new Asaoni of Ora Igbomino. The press statement issued by the Commissioner for Information and Public Enlightenment, Kolapo Alimi, revealed that the approval of the two monarchs was ratified and approved during the sitting of the Osun State Executive Council meeting, presided over by Governor Adeleke on Friday. The appointment of Prince Hastrop as the new Owa-elect was sequel to the demise of the immediate past Owa Obokunwadimula of Ijesha land, Oba Gabriel Adekunle Aromolaran II, on the 11th of September 2024, while that of Prince Abikoye as the new Asaoni of Ora Igbomina follows the demise of Obatinoye Atolagbe on the 19th of November 2023. According to the press statement, Governor Adeleke, while congratulating the two newly approved monarchs, whom he said their choices followed due processes, enjoined all sons and daughters of the two towns to cooperate with their new traditional rulers, particularly in allowing peace and unity to take the center stage. Clement Hastrop was a former deputy governor in Osun State under former governor Isiaka Adeleke's administration. In Ondo State, Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa has immortalized his predecessor, Rotimi Akeredolu, as he announced that the new High Court complex to be constructed in the state would be named after the departed former governor. Ayedatiwa became the Ekiti governor after Akeredolu's death on December 27, 2023. Speaking during the flag-off ceremony for the construction of the new High Court complex, also called the Judiciary Village in Akure, the state capital, on Friday, Ayedatiwa described the project as a historic milestone for the state. He added that the project was conceived under the leadership and vision of the late Akeredolu. Ayedatiwa, who expressed his administration's commitment to the advancement of justice and the welfare of judicial officers in the state, highlighted the importance of embarking on the project. In another development, the Ondo State government on Friday raised the alarm over the high number of its property in the hands of private individuals 1 year after the death of the former governor, Rotimi Akeredolu. To this end, the State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Kayode Ajolo, ordered those in possession of the government's property unlawfully to return them immediately. The Attorney General, who gave the order in a statement he issued in Akure, the state capital, said anyone who failed to return the assets would be made to face the wrath of the law. Ajolo also expressed concern over attempts to withhold crucial information from Ayedatiwa, warning that efforts to silence inquiries through blackmail and baseless accusations against the governor and some of his commissioners would not be tolerated. The Attorney General alleged that Ayedatiwa's administration encountered resistance when questions were raised, as some vested interests had been alleging that the governor was tarnishing the memory of the late Akeredolu and attacking his nuclear and political family. The commissioner called on those involved in the misappropriation of assets to come forward or face the full force of the law. Since the beginning of the year 2024, a number of issues have made headlines within Nigeria's political space, especially in President Bola Tinubu's administration. This report examines the year 2024 in retrospect, focusing on some of the political events that shaped governance in Nigeria.
One of the most prominent political events that kicked off the year 2024 was the suspension of the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Betta Edu, by President Bola Tinubu. Ms. Edu's suspension over an alleged 585 million naira scandal alongside her predecessor, Sadiya Umar Farouk, probed over alleged 37.1 billion naira money laundering, was greeted with outrage and criticisms from Nigerians who are battling economic hardship. The former Humanitarian Affairs Minister's suspension, however, spiraled into sacking following a significant cabinet shakeup where President Tinubu reassigned 10 ministers to new portfolios, discharged 5 others, including Ms. Edu, and appointed 7 new ministers, a move that further expanded the president's cabinet and, by extension, the cost of governance.
The Federal Executive Council has taken a decision to take that Ministry of Tourism out and the functions of that ministry be transferred to a new ministry called the Ministry of Arts, Culture, Tourism, and Creative Economy.
That is what has been done. And I wouldn't want anybody in that region to begin to feel that the Ministry of Niger Delta has been scrapped and it's no more in existence.
Another shake-up in President Tinubu's cabinet was Ajuri Ngelale's indefinite leave of absence, which saw Bayo Nanuga, the special advisor to the president on information and strategy, now playing a spokesmanship role. The era of suspension was not yet over, as the All Progressives Congress senator representing Bauchi Central Senatorial District, Abdul Ningi, also had his own share. Senator Ningi's suspension stemmed from budget padding allegations, where he claimed that 3.7 trillion naira in the 2024 budget was not traceable to any project. His suspension was, however, reversed after 2 months.
I'm mindful of the rules of the Senate. Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved that in view of the grievous offense of Senator Ningi, that he be suspended. Amendment has been offered by distinguished Senator Adeleke and seconded by distinguished Senator Sani Musa, that he be suspended for only 3 months.
From the suspension saga, a couple of arrests also rocked Nigeria's political space in 2024, as former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello was enmeshed in a 110 billion naira alleged fraud case, provoking his arrest by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) before he was recently granted a 500 million naira bail. Some other arrests involved former Delta State Governor Ifeanyi Okowa by the EFCC over alleged diversion of 1.3 trillion naira. Labour Party's Julius Aburi arrested by the police in Edo State over alleged attempted murder, while his NLC counterpart, Joe Ajaro's arrest by the Department of State Services (DSS) sparked national shutdown threat by Labour Union before his release. In May 2024, the attention switched to Labour Union's 615,000 naira minimum wage demand from previous 30,000 naira, a demand that was eventually pegged to 70,000 naira by the federal government, while Lagos and Rivers State agreed to pay workers 85,000 naira, the highest so far. A consensus was, however, not reached until the Labour Union down tools, disrupting operations at the Abuja and Lagos airport and causing national power outages.
We are hereby declaring the commencement of a nationwide industrial action, a nationwide strike, effective from Monday, June 3rd, 2024. And this strike shall be indefinite. And this strike shall be on until we have a new national minimum wage.
Less than a month after President Tinubu approved the 70,000 naira minimum wage, the nation in August was thrown into nationwide end bad governance protest that spanned for about 10 days, a result of continued economic hardship brought about by skyrocketing inflation, naira flotation, fuel subsidy removal, among other economic policies. Reacting to the spate of protest, a human rights activist, Ayo Ologun, says rather than gagging the demonstrations, the government should enlarge the space for decent opinions.
Voice of dissent is almost going into extension in the country. If you recall, when we had the end-bad governance protest, there's nothing rather than the government to make provision for security, cover, and ensure that people are allowed to exercise their free will. What they did was to do all that was seemingly possible to gag the media, to gag the people. Can suppress the voice of the people for as long as possible. But it's like when you bottle up here, the day it will explode, it will blow up in all our high. So if the government, instead of the government to continue to subdue and to suppress voice of dissent and reasoning, I think the reasonable thing to do is to enlarge the space for criticism, enlarge the space for decent opinion, while ensuring that it's done within the premises of the law. Who are beginning to resign to fate. And when you resign to fate in such manner, you are adding feathers to the wings of your oppressors. You are telling your oppressors that they can go harder.
Another outrage from Nigerians sprung up after President Tinubu signed the National Anthem Bill into law, resulting to the former Nigeria We Hail Thee, a development described by some Nigerians as misplaced priority, coming at a period when there were calls for improved standard of living. Northwest Nigeria, Kano State witnessed protest and unrest in the first half of the year, following the emergence of Muhammad Sanusi as the 14th emir, dethroning Ado Bayero, who was installed by former Governor Abdullahi Ganduje. Sanusi's reinstatement only came after the Apex Court affirmed Abba Yusuf of the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, as governor of the state. Moving on to elections in the year 2024, where the APC had a clean sweep in the Ondo and Edo governorship polls as their candidate, Lucky Ayedatiwa and Monday Okpebolo, emerged winners in the polls marred by vote buying. The Edo election laid to rest the political squabble between former Governor Godwin Obaseki and Philip Shaibu, the deputy governor who battled impeachment plot. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, also faced criticisms over the election conduct in the state, as disparities were recorded in the result uploaded on the IREF portal and the official result announced in Edo State. Executive Director of a human rights group, Wasiu Oyedokwali, thinks INEC has improved but wants a full implementation of electoral acts that will ensure electoral offenders, especially vote buyers, face consequences of their actions.
The case of vote buying and vote selling is still paramount. And that is what I call emergence of pseudo-democracy in Nigeria. Because you are now voting based on what you have earned that day, which will not take you probably to even the next day. The Electoral Acts being implemented to the letter. Now, as we speak now, I cannot particularly say how many people who have flouted, who have run foul of the laws, have been imprisoned, have faced the consequences of their action. People have been caught with currencies. What has happened to them? Now, the issue of vote buying, vote selling, if we can curb that in our democracy, it will go a long way in ensuring that the right candidates emerge in an election.
Meanwhile, the local government autonomy granted by the Supreme Court is also one of the major political events that shaped 2024. After the governorship polls, local government elections in Abia and crisis-ridden Rivers State raised questions as the Action People's Party (APP) floored the 23 local governments in Rivers, despite the governor, Siminala Ifabara, being a PDP member, while the Zenith Labour Party (ZLP) and Young Progressive Party (YPP) emerged winners in Abia State, where Alex Oti of the Labour Party governs. The political crisis in Rivers State shows no sign of abating as the Niger Delta region has so far witnessed local government secretariat arson attack, federal allocation restriction, state assembly leadership crisis, among others. Toby Sanusi, Western Spring Television News.
Moving on, Governor Nasir Idris of Kebbi State has assented to the 2025 budget after it was passed into law by the House of Assembly. The legislature approved the 580.32 billion naira as presented by the executive with slight adjustment to the capital and recurrent expenditures. Governor Idris affirmed his commitment to transparency and accountability in the implementation of the fiscal document for impactful service delivery. While signing the budget at the Government House Chamber in Birnin Kebbi, Governor Idris noted that the budget processes, allocation, and all other provisions will be followed. He added that the government would carry the budget implementation to the grassroots to enable rural dwellers feel its impacts. The governor said the achievement recorded by incumbent administration could not have been possible without the support of the legislature. The governor of Abia State, Alex Oti, has signed the 2025 fiscal year budget of 750.2 billion naira into law. The appropriation bill passed by the Abia State House of Assembly was assented to on Friday. Commending the lawmakers for their thorough and timely scrutiny of the bill, Oti describes the budget as a tool to sustain his administration's momentum on delivering on its promises to the people of Abia. The governor, who dubs the budget a budget of sustained momentum, maintains that the government deliberately tagged it so because it is the second budget of the present administration. He reiterated that about 82% of the total budget is dedicated to capital expenditure, with 18% allocated to recurrent expenditure, despite challenges posed by higher wages due to the implementation of the new national minimum wage and the regular payment of pensions. You are watching News at